Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, hi, my name's Amber. I'm currently at the University of Greenwich studying events management and I am in my third year, which is coming up to a very quick end. I graduate on the 20th of April and it's currently the 1st, so like in 19 days my degree is done, which is like kind of insane. But I thought this would be a really good opportunity because I know so many of you have subscribed from my other event management videos and I know there's not a lot of event management content out there from like students themselves on YouTube, so I just thought I'd give you like a full overview of the degree as a whole now that I've like practically completed the whole thing. Like I'm not going to uni anymore, all my other courses have finished, I've just got one assignment left, which is what I'm working towards over the next 20 days. So yeah, I thought I'd give you like an overview of first year, second year, third year, and kind of what that involves and what goes into that, and kind of the workload, as well as some more information to help you decide like whether it's worth it or not, whether you want to go to uni to do events management or whether you think you could do a different route, maybe an apprenticeship or things like that. Because I know there are so many questions around this because it still is relatively new degree, like it's only been in existence for like the last 20 years, which compared to a lot of other degrees like maths and history and everything is very new, so there's still a lot of question marks around it. And as always, the events industry is changing and people's standards are getting higher now that the industry is becoming more evolved. So I just thought I'd have a little chat through about my degree, about everything I've experienced over the last 3 or 4 years, and hopefully answer some of your questions that you've got in the back of your head, because I know I've done a lot of like different events management videos over the year specifically on specific years or just your questions in general, but now I thought it'd be cool to do like a full overview of the whole thing so it's all in one place. But obviously if you do need any other information or have any other questions, check out my playlist, which I'll try and link at the end, because I actually have a whole event management playlist which will probably be super useful for you. But I have written in detail my degree on my laptop, so I have some notes to go through this because I wanted it to make sense and like be chronologically in order and everything like that. So let's get started. I'll kind of talk a little bit about how I came to my decision to do an events management degree towards the end, but I'm just going to go through the degree overall in case there are any of you who are like pretty set on the idea already. So the first year of events management is a lot of like an introduction to the course, in the sense like no one's ever done events management. I don't know any college or sixth form or secondary school or anything like that that offers events management. Obviously you have business, you have media, like things that kind of cross over into the events industry, but nothing as specific. So they do use the first year as like, I don't know, kind of to catch people up who haven't done business or media or any of those things with the people who have, to get you all on the same level, as well as like your initial understanding of the events industry, so that the information you gain is useful in the sense like you've never learnt about it before, but it is quite shallow in its understanding because they just want you to get used to the idea at first. So my first year was split into 4 parts. There were 3 courses that you had to do and then you had an optional one. So the first course was Introduction to the Events Industry, and I probably found this course the most useful just because it really went through each event type, so like a conference or a festival or any of those, and really in detail told you what the characteristics were, how you plan it, what to expect from that. So that was really useful. Then we had Professional Practice, which I can probably say now was my least favourite course over my whole university experience, or one of my least favourite. It was all about how to write a CV, how to reference Harvard's referencing style, which was kind of useful, but all the other things were kind of very generic and not tailored to the events industry. Like it was a mix of students in the same room and it was more just about like employability skills, which I guess is useful, but at the same time there were people in the room that already knew how to do that, so I didn't find like everyone got the most value out of it. So yeah, that was pretty painful, and I think a lot of us agreed that it was a bit of a waste of time, so wouldn't suggest that course, but that was one of the main ones we had to take. It was like obligatory that we took that. So yeah, it wasn't my favourite, not a lot to do with the events industry though, so can't be helped. Then we had Experience Design and Event Marketing, which was actually really interesting. It was quite creative, which I really liked, but again a lot of information, a lot of like theories about experiential design and things, and yeah, just a little insight into how an event is marketed, like on a very like shallow level, not like in depth or anything, and just like about how you would tailor an event experience and what an event experience means, it with like the 5 senses and everything like that. So yeah, that was pretty interesting as well. Then the option I took was marketing, which I thought complemented event marketing quite well, but I also chose marketing because I think it's quite a good branch from events management. If you graduate and decide you don't want to do events anymore, you could switch into marketing, so that's kind of why I did that. So then moving into year 2, this is when like the theory and the practice comes into it. So the theory gets a lot more in depth and is a lot more challenging and a lot more work than first year, because obviously first year doesn't actually count for anything. Like your grades that you get in first year don't count towards your final degree, so you can kind of like test the waters a little bit. Second year it starts to count. Only 20% of your final grade is taken from second year, but you start to learn a lot more and there's a bit more pressure and a bit more work, and you actually get to produce an event in second year, which was really fun, that you get put in a group and produce an event for your fellow colleagues or peers or who other friends and family, things like that, which I really enjoyed. It was really cool to put that into practice because some people had never produced an event before, so that was really interesting experience. Very interesting teamwork dynamics in there as well. So yeah, I would say year 2 is just like a lot more technical and in-depth, which is what you're obviously looking for to get out of an event management degree. And this again was split into 4 parts, one of which was a choice. So we had event operations, event productions in practice. That was where you did your live event, so it was actually inbuilt into your course, which was kind of helpful because you could all have the same time to like meet up and chat as a group. We had HR and research methods. Now these were paired as like a course together, so one term you did HR, the next time you did research methods. HR was probably another one of my least favourite, just because I'm doing events management, I don't really want to know about HR, I'm not planning on working in HR. So again, it was just whether I got the value out of that they were hoping for me to achieve, but kind of interesting I guess. But I'm sure some people found it really useful, but for me just wasn't really appropriate. But then research methods was really useful because you learn all about your dissertation and things, so if you wanted to you could start that over the summer between second and third year. Don't know if anyone actually did that, but you had the option, and it just really helped you kind of tailor your research techniques and what research means and what to look out for in terms of like contrasting opinions and stuff, so that you could use that information in third year throughout all of your assignments. That was really useful. It was a lot of work but very useful. And then my choice was conferences, exhibitions and corporate events. Now I was hoping to go into corporate events, or still am hoping to go into corporate events as like my industry sector, so this was probably one of my most favourite courses of the term, was one I chose because I really did get a lot of value out of it. It was specifically tailored to what I wanted to do, which I really enjoyed, and the teaching on it was really good and like really information heavy, which I quite liked. Like I am one of those people who likes to write a lot of notes, so yeah, I found that really easy and fun way to learn. Then you can so from second year you can move into either third year straight away, or you have the option at the University of Greenwich to go and do an internship, which is what I chose to do. Now with the internship, it has to last a minimum of 9 months. Mine actually lasted like over 12 months because they asked to keep me on, which was really nice. So I was there for about 15 months, I want to say. And the university does help you like try and get that internship as best they can, but I actually found my internship by myself, and I know that a lot of people weren't able to find internships and had to go straight into third year. I would say if you do get to do the opportunity to do an internship, definitely do. I originally didn't want to do an internship because I love living back at home with my family and stuff, and I just kind of wanted to get university over and done with. But after like I had like a business mentor at the time, and speaking to my mum and my boyfriend and my tutor, they were all like, you should probably do it, like you're never going to get this opportunity to kind of like test the waters of an industry, make some mistakes and things like that ever again. So I did it, and I'm really, really thankful I did. Not only have I got industry contacts now, but I've also got the knowledge and the experience to put on my CV to say like I've produced over 100 events for this much money kind of thing, which obviously puts me above people who have just got a degree and no experience. So if you do have the opportunity to do it and you can do that in something that you want to do, I would definitely say go for it. But like I said, loads of people decided just to go straight into third year, and third year is obviously the year I'm currently in, and I can say it is a lot harder than first and second year for sure. But the one thing I really like about third year is first year is obviously an introduction to the events industry, then a more in-depth look at it second year. Then third year is kind of like the events industry in the current day, so there's a lot of like current issues in the events industry, current trends in the events industry, like things that are really going to ready you for entering the events industry. How many times can I say industry? But yeah, I found it really useful and like a great way to kind of build up the habit of kind of looking at the industry around you and what's changing, what's evolving, what's new, what's different, and how to kind of stay ahead of that. So yeah, I found that really, all that new stuff really exciting and fun, but I did find that we also covered some like generic knowledge of like the current climate of just like the economy and business world in general. So like Brexit we talked about, and like, I don't know, just things that were a bit more generic rather than tailored to the events industry, which again is useful because obviously you need to be aware of those things. But I'm doing an events management degree because I want it to be specific to events management. Does that make sense? I don't want to sound like I'm just bitching about the course. That was one thing that I kind of, like, sometimes it felt very generic, whereas I prefer it more tailored to the industry itself. This year was again split into 4 or 5 courses, so if you didn't do a placement you would do 4, and if you did a placement on or internship you did 5 courses. So the courses were Contemporary Issues in Events Management, which is obviously where we spoke about all the new trends and things, and that was probably one of my favourite courses along with the one from second year, just because it was new and exciting and current and fun. Like, it was really interesting. We then had Event Policy and Regulations, which was quite a painful course just because it was very heavy in its content and quite dry. Like, I'm not specifically interested in like politics or anything like that, so I feel like if you were, you'd probably love it, but for me I just found it like a bit dull. Not to say that I haven't found some value out of it, I probably will use my knowledge from that, but yeah, it just wasn't one of my favourites. But that was another course you had to do. And then the third course that you had to do was research methods, so that again was your dissertation, and they call it research project. They call it research project because you can either do a dissertation or a consultancy project. I did a dissertation, but obviously you can choose when you get there, but you have a whole course set out for that. You have a couple of lectures at the start of the year, and then it kind of drifts off, and you can like book one-to-one meetings with your supervisor and things, kind of tailor it to how you work best. Then my choice was venue management, which I chose because the other options we had weren't that great. I really can't remember what they were, but I just remember reading them being like, oh, venue management's really the only one that kind of applies. And I had done kind of venue management-ish during my internship, so I thought that would be quite useful to kind of back up my knowledge, as well as I would find it slightly easier whilst doing all of the other courses that I had going, which I wanted to use to my advantage. But I did find that one quite interesting. It was very information heavy, like a lot of data and statistics and graphs and things, but I think that's just the way my lecturer works. She just likes to see the numbers, which is fair enough. So yeah, I did enjoy that course. A lot of it I obviously already knew because I'd done it for a year, but that was quite an interesting course as well. And then I had my business placement course. Now this took up like not much time at all. It wasn't like a booked in to your timetable. You didn't have any lectures for it or anything. You just had 2 assignments. You had to do a presentation and an essay, and you had both of those before you started your placement. So I actually did my presentation like document thing before, like whilst I was doing my placement I did that, and then I could just crack on and do my essay when I got back before all of my other deadlines started to kick in. So yeah, that was all of the courses that I did. It's quite a lot talking through it. But I think my overall experience of the degree has been super positive, just from the feedback that I've got from other people, especially now like having to apply for jobs and things. People are coming back and saying like they're impressed with my CV and everything I've done and like my grades and things, and I just think it is how you apply yourself. Obviously not every course you're going to really enjoy or take value from, but as long as you like try your hardest and try to get your grades as high as possible and try and make the most of it whilst you're in there, so whether that's changing the way you study for that specific course so that you're more interested in it, whether it's like using pretty highlighters or something just to keep you engaged. That was something that I had to put into practice, obviously, because some of them weren't specific to me, but I don't think you'd ever find a degree where 100% of the content is 100% what you want to do, because obviously they've got so many people to cater for. Because sure, I want to go into corporate events, but what about the people who want to go into experiential events, or what about the people who want to do event marketing and things like that? So they've got to try and cover all their bases, so it's not always going to be specific to you. But I have found that a lot of people from the industry and like future employers and things do really appreciate you having a degree, and sometimes it's even listed on the job description that you need a degree. But as well as that, I would say like a lot of people do value experience, especially when that comes in hand. You're almost like bulletproof at that point because you've got both things going for you. So I would say if you can do a degree in events management, I would suggest you would. I remember when I was first looking into it, I was really unsure about whether to do a degree, because I knew you didn't have to have a degree. Like I could have just started in like event operations and like worked my way up through a company, which again is another way to go. And I think looking back, I don't know if I would have done a degree again. Oh, that's a big thing to say. Basically what I'm saying is my sister did an apprenticeship, or just went straight from education into work, and is doing really well. She's in a great job, she's got a great like salary and things like that. So I've just seen like the route that you can go, compared to me, who's had to like kind of struggle over the last 3 years to try and get through uni and do the work myself and be self-motivated to get the job done. Obviously it is very different because she's still living at home. She is 19. No, is she 20? She's 20. But and I'm living in London, so I think that's the main benefit I've got from doing a degree, is kind of the university experience and moving away from home at such a young age. Like I moved out when I was 17 to go to university. So yeah, did I? No, when I was 18. When I was 18 I moved out to go to university. So yeah, but I do find that if basically I think the thing you have to ask yourself is whether you're willing to do the work to work your way up in like a slightly smaller company, or whether you want to jump up those few steps and work for a bigger corporate, or like more advanced, more established company. Because I think in the smaller companies it's very easy to start off and kind of work your way up in that sense, because they are really like encouraging and want people to do well in a small team. Whereas I feel like if you're hoping to work for a bigger company, you've got to be competitive and have worked for it and have the same skill level as other people going for the same job. So I think it would be harder to get a higher paid job in a bigger company or a more established company without the degree. And I think the degree does give you a really good foundation if you've never tried events management before, because it's not something everyone's done in their spare time or anything, and it's not something you can really learn about anywhere else, like the theory side of it. But I do think after doing my internship there is a lot of learning on the job anyway, despite whether you have a degree or not, because things are always happening. And with events, if something goes wrong, you can't really learn about that in a lecture theatre. Like you have to be there on the day to kind of like fix it, you know. So those are some things to consider. I think if I were to go back and do it all again, I maybe wouldn't have done a degree. I maybe would have gone a different route. But having said that, and having done a degree, I am really thankful that I've done it, because I know where it's going to get me. But yeah, I don't think I would have done it again. I know that's really tricky and probably hasn't helped anyone who's trying to figure out whether they want to do a degree or not. I think it just depends whether you're willing to do the groundwork to work your way up, or you want to skip a few levels and work for a bigger, more established company. Those are the kind of things you have to consider. But yeah, I have rambled for like over half an hour, so this can be a very long video, but I hope there has been some useful information in that. I feel like I just like spoke at you like verbal diarrhea for the last half an hour, but like I said, there's so much information in there, and I have got a lot of other videos if you want more specific details about any of those areas. But I hope that has kind of given you an overview of what to expect going into university, or whether you're deciding to do a degree or not, what you can expect from a degree. And obviously it's not always going to be tailored to you, but there will be things that you enjoy more and enjoy less, like in any high school. But yeah, that is everything for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit thumbs up and subscribe down below, because I'm currently posting 3 videos a week, which is quite a lot of content coming your way, so hopefully you'll stick around, and I'll see you soon.